Derek Preece with Spot On Solutions. I am being joined today with some of my really great and dear friends for this episode, this version of our $1 Million Interview Series. And who I have got joining me today are, like I said, wonderful friends of mine, Len Hume and Annette Marchionda, wonderful duo team, husband and wife team, who have built a very successful cleaning business above the border, north of the border in the grand land of Canada. And I'm super stoked that you guys are joining me today. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
So good to be with you, Derek, as always.
I have been looking forward to this time that we're going to have together for a while. I remember the day that the light came off in my head when we were brainstorming this series, and like I said, the light went off in my head, and I was like, I have got to talk to Len and Annette. They would be perfect for this interview series. So as you know, or as our listeners, as the people who are watching this know, this series we started to offer entrepreneurs, business owners, advice, counsel, thoughts, ways to overcome the challenges that business owners face when they're really trying to build their business to hit that first $1 million in revenue annually and beyond. And so we have pulled out all the stops. We are interviewing the cream of the crop. And today I'm super stoked because not only have Len and Annette built a super successful business and have seen great success and growth in that realm of their life, but you built it to the point where you're able to actually realize your dreams, sell the business, and move on to like you said, Len, do the stuff you always wanted to do when you grew up, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say the business gave us a really good lifestyle. Like all entrepreneurs, we worked like crazy and worked a lot, but we didn't have to sell it. It was giving us a great lifestyle. But that was something we had in our mind for some time.
That's so awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear some of your story, and I know that the people who are watching this are gonna just love it. So one more little bit of background. You guys started from a franchise system, professional cleaning systems. Is that correct?
That's right.
And so some of that may come out in our interview together. But I want to kind of start as we kind of kick this off. A lot of business owners, go into business with family, husband and wife teams, and struggle. And they learn that, it's great to be married, but it's not great to be married and work with each other. And you guys have found a way to overcome those obstacles. I mean, like, I've known you for 20 years, at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And I have never thought of the two of, like, one of you without the other. Like, in my mind, it's always been Len and Annette. Like, it's almost just doesn't sound right if I just say Len, just say Annette. So, so you guys have worked you've worked together. Who's the boss who was the boss in the relationship? How did you separate, the work-life balance? How did you do that when you were, you built a business for 30 years and obviously we're married longer than that. So, how did you make that husband and wife team work?
Boy,
Do you want to start?
is it a question of who answers first as the boss? I'll say the person who speaks second is the boss.
And to make sure you get it right.
Yeah, a real good friend of a mutual friend, Lisa Wagner. She coined the phrase "married with business." And a long time ago, we picked it up, and Lisa's kindly said we can use it if we want to. But in the workspace, we both had different areas where we were doing things because the business was getting larger. But it did cross once in a while. Sometimes there'd even be one of the team members would sort of play lead, because they might have more knowledge. So I think we talked about giving it up and trying to stay out of each other's space.
Okay.
We'd ask advice, obviously, once in a while. Occasionally, I'll let Annette fill you in on the occasional times when we both had strong opinions about the same, because that does happen.
Oh, sure.
I'm not sure who prevailed in some of the discussions as to how we should do things, which I'm sure most married couples do. But I think some of the things that we had very strong opinions about, one of us would eventually learn to back off a bit and let it happen. I mean, there are certain natural strengths that, for sure were Len's, the maintenance, the equipment, the machinery, the assets, what to buy, that sort of thing. I was more, the smooth operations. Let's get the operations smooth, systems, follow-ups, procedures, that sort of thing. And there were some heated discussions.
And we're still together.
No matter what, we always knew that we each had the best interest at heart for the company and for our team. Mm-hmm. And when we thought about that, we just were able to get through it, get past it, and
there's no magic answer to that,
and make it happen.
Sure.
But then, in terms of the work-home balance, and we tried to leave work at work and leave home at home, because once you start mixing them, which was a challenge for us sometimes, it can create some things that make life not quite so wonderful, and it makes you wonder why, as entrepreneurs, we work so hard to do the things that we do.
Right.
But you do.
Right. And you take around and look at the things you're building and the lifestyle and everything else. You get past it.
Well, I know that you hear all the time. It's like, especially with husband and wife teams, you've got to leave work at work and not bring it home. And I know, but I gotta assume like that's oftentimes easier said than done. Am I right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And the hours in the day, just there wasn't time to discuss things. So when do you do it? While you're having dinner at home. Oh, by the way, and what do you think? And so it does. But when you have the love for what you're trying to accomplish, mm-hmm. and really that is outstanding customer experience, and really that was our ultimate goal. It happens. And then you just have to know when the other person says enough.
Yeah.
yeah, back off and
There was,
put it on the list to get back to another time.
in reality, there was probably more business decisions made that prepared the business to move forward were made after hours, because during the day there's just stuff going on. You know, you're dealing with clients, dealing with team. You know, it's so you have to know when enough is enough, but you know that's going to happen. And every husband-wife team I know has it happen. And in fact, I know it happens where people go home to a spouse that they're not working with. They got to get it off their shoulders. What went on at work that day. So, you know, I think we're the same that way.
Well, I think it's really awesome that, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times, you know, working with a spouse, you know, can, in that close relationship every single day, plus the whole, you know, can sometimes, you know, drive a wedge between relationships. And I'm just like, I love that you two have made that work and have done a fabulous job doing it. I remember when I first met you, it was in Tempe, right?
Yeah.
Remember Tempe, Arizona? We were at a Joe Polish convention, seminar,
boot camp.
It's really hard to say what those things were actually called, but they were a lot of fun, right? And we got to know each other really well over the years of being members of part of Joe Polish's organization. And you know, and if those who are listening haven't heard of Joe Polish or haven't heard of Piranha Marketing, he built a fantastic marketing company and taught a lot of people and at the time specifically cleaners and restorers how to grow their business using marketing. And so, you know, you as well as I mean, marketing has always been a big part of our business. How did marketing really play a role in the success that you had?
You know, we started Piranha in 2005, I believe. Yep. So 15, 16 years ago. And up till then, we had 14 years of struggling and just doing what every other cleaner does, trying to
low pricing,
so on and so forth. And with taking the focus away from just simply selling, which is what the high volume, low price people do, to marketing before you sell. In other words, preparing people, educational based marketing is what we learned. It made all the difference. As we increased prices, we got more customers. Simple as that. The more we increased our price, the higher the quality of the customer. So it was everything to us, you know. So the marketing and getting our message out to the segments, and we did learn to segment our population and not try to hit everybody with the same bolt, you know, same hammer, you know, different messages, different segments, right? And
kept an open mind, you know, to some of the marketing strategies and ideas. And as
first one of Joe's strategies was give away a free room of cleaning. I remember thinking at the time I heard that, I said, I work too damn hard to get anything away for free. Well, I mean, it was such a great strategy. It's just, you know, demonstrate. Don't be afraid to guarantee, show, you know, what you're doing. And so it
played a huge role in growing our business.
Right.
With that, though, were the connections of so many other people that we made at that time. And not only Piranha, Violand was another one. And Patty Mara was huge. And helping us develop our customer service experience, which is huge. And then as technology developed, keeping an open mind to that. And of course, you and Katie were instrumental in our website development and our social media and keeping us informed on that and helping us with that. So it's the power of those connections and letting people teach you, help you do the things that they're experts in,
Right.
and letting them do it.
Right. We learned from people far smarter than us at the time. And I remember one of our first comments after we came back for one of our first Piranha meetings was we sort of like an aha moment. You know, the only thing that's the matter with our business is what's in between our ears.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, so get a little adjustment on that and start listening to other people and following examples and copying other people's, quite frankly.
That's right.
Successes,
right?
Yeah.
There are no new ways, just copy what works, right? I remember, and I think you guys really took this to heart, because you've always been fantastic marketers and always looking for ways to better that experience for your clients. But I remember when I learned that, you guys, carpet cleaning is really not that glamorous, right? But when we learned that we're not really a cleaning company, we're a marketing company that just happens to clean carpets, right? Or just happens to clean rugs. We're a marketing company first. It's all about how are we portrayed in the eyes and in the minds and in the hearts of our clients and our potential clients. And
everybody's walking around thinking about, who can I trust? Who can I trust to, so finding ways in marketing. One of the strategies, of course, was to make contact with other retailers and so on and so forth, get their trust by offering to help them, and then using their list. Because if you can get a referral from somebody's already, it just elevates you. It takes away part of the mistrust right at the start. And we really relied on referrals, the referral growth side of the business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And using our website, as you know, to educate and start that process of getting to know us, trusting us with the information put up, the videos, the rug videos, all that sort of thing. So helps once they see our website and then see our reviews, and getting our reviews up there is
the new owners' reviews now.
The new owners. Oh goodness, we're gonna have to stop
new
saying
owners
that.
reviews.
We'll just get used to that.
I want to talk to you again the day that it finally becomes normal to say it's the new owner, someone else's reviews, right? That will be awesome. Well, hey, so let me go ahead.
I was just one of the things that when Annette and I were chatting about some things that we wanted to do, and of course marketing was key, and some of the contacts were key, so being able to do the work in a service industry, or yours is a service industry, ours is a service, whatever, you have to know how to do what you do, the technical side, and either you do yourself or you hire someone to do it. It's saying you have to be a good marketer. Or it's not that you can't have a business, but if you want a flourishing business, you have to be a good marketer. There's a third leg of that stool, if you like, and we call it business acumen, and it's knowing how to do things like read your P&L, write a proposal to the bank if you need some money, even
Sure.
if you're not credit worthy, you know, which there's certainly times way back when we weren't.
Yeah.
And but you need those things. And we developed that third leg, which steadied the ship, if you like,
Uh-huh.
um, through the people we met. What Annette
Well,
was referring to,
Violand, yeah.
the contacts and some of the Joe's friends, and you know.
Knowing your numbers, right? So knowing your numbers on the profit and loss and your balance sheets, but knowing your numbers, what's working and not working. You know, you had shown us, and you continue to show your clients their monthly stats, and, you know, don't continue to do something that's not working, or work it more what is working.
Right.
So
turn that faucet on, right? Turn it on high. Turn the other one off.
I remember folks who took that we talked to implement a bunch of the strategies, and then didn't ask the question about, when people called in, where did you find out about us? So you know, they didn't do that very basic step, is find out what your lead source is, right?
Yeah.
You know, so anyways,
that's perfect. I love that. Well, so that's great, because that's a great segue. I want to kind of continue down this path, because, you know, like I say, we've got a lot of people that are watching this that are, you know, potentially struggling to grow their business, and, you know, and are beating the pavement, trying to get things going, potentially wondering, you know, what do I do next? And, you know, you talked about the marketing side, and I think we agree that you always got to be marketing. But let's talk a little bit more about, go down that business side of things. What other like tips or lessons did you learn when it came to running your business from the eyes of a business owner that you would say are some of the most important things, especially when you're trying to grow your business to, you know, to that $1 million of revenue, that $1 million of profitable revenue? I think that's important to say, yeah. Right? But what would you say, you know, are some of the, you know, the 3 or 4 most important things you've learned?
Well, I want to preface it by saying we didn't always know these things. Okay.
Sure.
So, and it took a process, because anyone that's doing this, and if they are trying something, understand that you can measure small successes over the course of a month, but your long-term growth takes years, you know, sure, to build things up. So one of the things is to know where you personally are spending your time.
Okay. Track
your time. I mean, if you have an employee, you're probably asking them to fill out a timesheet or a production log or some sorts. Do the same yourself. Where did I spend some time? Oh, damn, I spent 3/4 of an hour a day having coffee with my buddies, you know. Know if you're spending your time developing relationships with people that you can help, and then ultimately they may be able to help you, or you be spending the time being productive, as many entrepreneurs are in the trenches, you know, doing the work and then doing their development work after hours. So just know where you're spending your time is a big thing.
That's great advice.
We have, there's so many things, but to develop that further, and we mentioned it already once before, is the power of connection and association. When we think about some of our successes, or some of those little things that kept adding up to get bigger, it's always been through connection and association. We were able to purchase our first building because we had a connection with a janitorial company that actually we were looking at this building. We weren't able to get it. The janitorial company purchased it. They realized it wasn't a right fit. But because we had a good association with them, he happened to contact us. We knew them, we had worked with them, had a good relationship. It was because of that association with him that we were able to buy that building. He held the first mortgage on it.
Sure.
For a few years.
That's awesome. And that's interesting specifically because a lot of people would see that guy as a competitor, right? I mean, you may not, do janitorial type work, but maybe you did. And so it's interesting that built a relationship with people who could make your business better, right? And regardless
Exactly.
of whether they were competitors or not, there's always room for great relationships.
And you start that by asking to help. What can you do to help them?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Great.
I think of another small, it actually, you could say he was a competitor. He was in the cleaning business. And he passed away, the gentleman that we first, and we spoke with his wife, we knew them. And we took over his book of business.
And help support his wife.
And
so.
help support, it gave kind of back a commission type fee for the first couple years off this list. And that worked for
Really?
her, worked for us. We virtually developed a marketing letter to her book,
For clients.
and able to get some customers who are still customers of the new owner today.
You got that in smoothly.
And
Yeah.
that was because we had a relationship
Yeah.
within that community,
Yeah.
right? Also with our distributors, our local distributors. We built good, strong relationships that helped us. He referred us and helped us. And so it's connection, association, and it all played a role in helping us get to the next step.
Right.
So a couple of real practical things too is almost immediately. It doesn't matter whether you're a person starting up just themselves, like I did, because it was just me for 3 or 4 years. It's getting a CRM in today's, like a good customer relation program to look after your schedules, your invoicing, your work orders, and your marketing. Some of the products that are out there now, they're cloud-based, they're affordable, and just they're so good. And you can do, your drip campaigns and all sorts of automatic reminders and automatic texting and all this stuff is, anyways, that should have that.
Great advice. Because people, as soon as you leave the house, people start to forget about you, right?
Yep.
Keep in front of them. Keep reminding them who you are and what you do, and I love that. And a great CRM is critical piece.
Yeah.
To
Now and I'm not dissing QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a great program, and you need that for your P&L. And your balance sheet and all that. And so you have to have that, but don't rely on QuickBooks to look after your invoicing and that, because it doesn't have those other great marketing, drip campaign, scheduling.
Yeah, you can't have one. You can't just use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is your accounting software. That's great, but most good CRMs have have an API, connect with
Yeah.
QuickBooks, and we'll do
You can
that.
get over what you need into QuickBooks, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, and I could talk to you forever, but we have talked forever a long time, many, and the time just flies by when we're talking. But I'm really interested, and I think the people who are watching will be interested as well too. Talk about tell me, when did you start your exit strategy? When were you thinking about that? And then how did you go about executing that exit strategy? I mean, you started from the very beginning. Like, what were you thinking?
Well, as one of those tips now, getting back to some of the tips, if I were to suggest to someone, it's think of your exit strategy when you start your business.
Okay.
I mean, that we didn't then, but that will prompt so many other things, which means if you're planning your exit strategy, then your business is just going to flourish along the way, which means you'll have proper procedures in place. And if it's only yourself, let's start writing the procedures down. And as you start to grow and train other people, they'll be there. The procedures will be there. The handbook will be there. All that sort of thing. So if you think about your exit strategy right from the start, all these little things will happen, which will help make that exit strategy and selling your business easier, more
Right.
profitable when you do sell it, because these are all things that potential buyers will be looking for.
Yeah.
I think when we truly, truly thought about it is of course, one way of getting up to that $1 million, and I mean, you can purchase other things, right? Which we did. About 10 years ago, we purchased, or 8 years ago, we purchased a division called Custom Rug Gallery. And it was a retailer who referred us often. He sold high-end carpeting, all that sort of thing, and made beautiful custom rugs. And we happened to be chatting, and you said, well, Gary's closing. I said, what do you mean closing? Well, he's closing. He's just going to close.
He couldn't sell it. He didn't.
I'm like, what? And I went over there and I said, what, you're just closing? He said, yeah, I'm good. I've had enough now, and blah, blah, blah. And couldn't really get, I'm like, oh my God. So we virtually purchased his equipment, really, is what we did.
Mm-hmm. Has
So,
that been
in
8
terms
years
of-
Purchased
ago?
a company, and I came back, and those next few days, and I said to Len, that is definitely not happening to us.
Oh yeah.
So
We are not just going to close our doors.
So back again, going back to hanging around with people smarter than ourselves, at one of Joe Polish's things, I think the gentleman that wrote the book, or at least the book was introduced, was Built to Sell.
Okay.
So Built to Sell is a great read, and it talks about designing your company to sell it. If you don't sell it, at least it's designed to run like a company.
Sure.
So you reap the benefits while you're operating it, even before you sell it. So after that, and talking to Gary, we decided we really started getting our ducks in a row in terms of being able to report productivity. And, we got a lot of KPIs put together, and then about 3 years ago, 2018, 3.5, we decided it was the time. We knew it was going to be a process getting out, and that tell them your analogy
Oh,
about going to dating sites and.
oh. Well, not,
Oh, okay.
not that I've ever been
I-
to a dating site, but you know what? Some people do. I just, you know, when you're talking about selling your business, I just wanted people to understand that it doesn't happen overnight, and you don't put, you know, business for sale and think it's going to happen and
Sure.
overnight. So I said to Len, it's kind of like, you know, you're dating, you need to, you know, start going out there. So marketing that you want your business to sell.
Uh-huh.
So you need to find the broker, but anyway, you need to find that target who might be interested in buying, and then it's kind of a lot of questions get asked back and forth. You're getting to kind of know, and then it's like the engagement proposal, sort of say you're getting, you know, more serious. So that kind of gets into like the due diligence of the sale of your business, where they really get into, they want to know all this stuff. We've got pages and pages of lists of what they want to know and what you need to send. And so that's really, you know, getting serious and to then get married, make the marriage contract,
Get it done.
the buy-sell agreement.
Right.
Well, so it's a process.
It's interesting that you've gone through this process. And I remember when, because we've worked with each other for a long, long time. And I remember, it was about 3 years ago when you came to us and said, you're we're basically going on the market. Right. And, but then like something really, potentially challenging happened in everybody's world. And I know in Canada, well, okay, down here, the news is what it is. But you guys, how did COVID affect this at all? Did it hinder the process? Did it help it? What did it do to the selling process?
Okay. You can't talk about what I did to the selling process without talking about what I did to the business itself.
Okay.
Is it took, you know, a significant immediate hit, you know, come March 17th of 2020, right? Up here, it was March 17th anyways. We, like every other service business, got hit real bad. And it virtually stopped any conversation with potential buyers. I think we probably had 5 or 6 sort of suitors after us. They had signed an agreement saying they'd keep things to themselves so that they could, anyways. But it didn't take long for things to there's people out there looking for opportunities. And that's how come business brokers, people who sell businesses for a living, that's their business, exist, is because there is a ton of money out there looking for a place to land. And people want to put it on something that generates cash and has some longevity. So the activity with the broker started up maybe 3 months after after the March 17th. The price that we got for the operating side of the business was affected because our revenue dropped back. It's just starting to come back now. But I don't know about you, up here, real estate became really desirable. So the value of our building increased as the value of the business decreased a little bit. So in the end, it was a wash for us. So we're thoroughly happy. And so it didn't affect it. I think even in bad times, there's always opportunities. So you can't live in your own fear, because other people have a different attitude. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
I think
that's
that
the reality.
I think that's awesome. I think you really kind of nailed, in my opinion, exactly what is important. Is like a lot of people got so scared of this pandemic, right? And fear paralyzes people. Like, it is the most paralyzing thing on the planet. And yet you didn't let that stop you, right? You worked through the fear and, and got through it, and just kept moving forward, right? I remember some of those conversations of what COVID did, to the not just your business, to all businesses, right?
Yeah.
So
we
but
were
yeah. Oh, sorry.
we were considered essential up here, so we were able to continue to operate. So we got aggressive and went after every last thing that we could possibly get in order to we still want to present a good something good for potential buyers. So
oh, sure.
yeah. So but we just decided it was time. You opened it up by saying we weren't sure what we were going to do when we grow up, but we're going to find out now. And we just decided we had sort of plateaued the business. It was a good lifestyle for us. Plateaued the business. We just felt that we loved our team, and we felt that they needed some new energy in there to move it forward. And so it was time. We didn't have there was opportunities available, to maybe do a little more work in the restoration, but all sorts of things. We just didn't want to do it. So there's someone else might. So
well, that's awesome. Well, then one kind of wrap up question then, was it's hard letting go of the business? Was it hard to just like finally, sign on the dotted line? And I mean, I know you've been, this is such a new process that through your agreement, you've been kind of helping transition the new ownership to where they're at today. So you haven't technically like stepped away from it, but the ownership part is gone. Was it hard to letting go of it?
I more so for me, I think, than Len. And I don't know if it's a male female thing where it's kind of like, your kids, you love and nurture and build them, and you grow them and everything to go, and you want them to go, but you don't want it to go.
Sure.
So and it's very hard sometimes not to tell them what to do.
Because you're not the boss anymore.
And I mean, there's so many things here we can cover. Derek, it's terrible. You shouldn't tell them what to do all the time. It's hard. That's one of the lessons learned. Maybe you should let people figure out what they're going to do and then maybe course correct.
That's that's a lesson in operation that we probably didn't learn as well as we should have, in order to delegate, let other people make their own mistakes. And the old story, it's easier to tell someone than to watch them fight through something. So
but so it's a little hard. You've built this business 30 years in the community. People know you. So you want to make sure people have the same honor and vision. That's one of the selection process of who you want to sell to, and we definitely feel we found that.
Good.
So in a way that, is good as well. So
There's,
yeah,
there's as many different there's as many different reasons for selling as there are entrepreneurs. There's, but one of the reasons is if it's bothering your mental or physical health every day to go in, sell. It's the time.
Uh-huh.
If somebody comes along and offers you
just
more money than you ever thought, sell. If your next opportunity is bigger and more exciting than your present situation, sell. It's the time to sell. And one of the, like, and Annette and I spent a lot of time talking about this over the last 2.5, 3 years. One of the things that we think is a real shame is that a very small percentage of small SMEs, small medium enterprises,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them don't sell. They just close up.
Close up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we think that's a shame. And a lot of them close up because they don't have the things together that would make them, that allows them to, the makeup to put on to allows them to get out on the market.
Right.
And
The systems, the processes,
yeah,
the workflows,
the KPIs,
the assets that actually make something valuable, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
people.
that's one of our goals, is to some way figure out how to help some people do that down the road.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, because at the end of the day, your business would not be as valuable as it is if it was Len and Annette's business. I mean, if Len and Annette leave and the business fails, stops, it's not a business worth selling, right? Because without you, it's not a business. And that's what I think is awesome, that you grew a business that could run without you, right? And that someone could step in and take over, and that it would not miss a beat. And that's really smart.
Which means one of the, getting back to all those tips, that there's 1,000 tips, is, your people
Sure.
are one of your most important assets. So that's one of the tips, to
Figure out how to pay them as much as you can. It's a tough labor market out there. If you're losing people because of compensation, that's short-sighted, because it costs way more to replace them. So figure out, figure out things that help make them productive, so that you can afford to give them a bigger portion of every dollar.
I love that. Great advice. As it is. I mean, businesses look at, your employees' labor ends up on the expense side, cost of goods side of the ledger, when really they're on the asset side, right? So I love that. Well, Len and Annette, I mean, like I said, I could talk to you forever. I would love to.
We could talk to you forever.
Is there any, as we kind of wrap up and we pull the plug on this particular conversation, anything else you have just on the tip of your tongue that you feel like somebody could benefit from, this little tidbit of knowledge that you haven't already said, because you've already given us fabulous information that will move the needle in many businesses? But is there anything else?
Do one, yes. Take 3% of your revenue every month. No, number 1A, don't use your company account as your personal account.
Okay,
keep the
good.
money separate. Okay, pay yourself first, put that aside, and run your household out of that. Number 2, of your business revenue, take 3% of it every month and put it in a separate bank account that you don't touch. Even if you're having to use a line of credit to operate once in a while, just don't touch that money. And it is there when you just have that breakdown that is catastrophic, or an engine blows up, or somebody, your competition comes and says, I can't take it anymore. I'll sell it to you for 10 cents on the dollar. You know, you have some cash available to pull out. Your operation owns that money, pull it out and take advantage of. What luck is knowing how to take chances of opportunities or something.
Well,
Or being prepared
and
to.
that was Joe, someone in Joe's realm of things, yeah, said exactly that. Luck really is being able to take advantage of an opportunity that appears to
Here's
yourself.
itself.
Yeah.
Love it.
And we were able to do that.
Yeah.
We bought 2 Aerotechs just this past winter while we were in negotiations of selling our business. But it was a good deal and we couldn't pass it up. And again, it was through a power of an association, a cleaner in Oakville. And we were just able to purchase them like that
The cash.
because of this
Because you had the
cash
cash to
set
do it.
aside. And if it was one little tidbit too, when you are ready to sell, you've decided and you're getting ready, we still ran our business as if we weren't, which
Right.
means we still invested in people training.
Mhm.
We still invested in asset buying. We still, so we didn't let things go downhill or slide or decline because we wanted to sell. You certainly don't want to do that. So that would be another thing too.
That's excellent. Excellent advice. Don't.
There's probably 1,000 more.
I'm sure that there are, and that's the beauty about business is you're constantly learning and growing.
Absolutely.
Len and Annette, thank you so much for your time, and more than that, thank you for your friendship. I value the time and the relationship that we've spent with each other over the years more than you'll ever know and can imagine. So I'm super grateful to have you guys as part of my dear friends. You've been awesome. Thank you for taking your time and to talk to our listeners, the people that are watching this video. Such a great wealth of information and knowledge that you gave us today. And so I encourage everybody that's watching this, take advantage of what Len and Annette have taught you today. Come back and to the next $1 million interview series that we'll have. And thank you so much for your time. And until next time, go out and make $1 million.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. We love you.
You're welcome.